In the high-pressure situation rooms of the Pentagon and the quiet, mahogany row offices of Wall Street, this is no longer a punchline for late-night talk shows. What the mainstream media mocked in 2019 as a real estate mogul's senile hallucination has, by 2026, mutated into a cold, hard national security imperative. But why now? Why is the United States suddenly willing to risk a diplomatic schism with its oldest European allies to secure a frozen island 3 times the size of Texas? The answer isn't found in the headlines or the political tweets. It's found in the brutal mathematics of survival. It's found in a $1.1 trillion valuation of the most strategic real estate on Earth. Welcome to Financial Creditor. Today, we are stripping away the sensationalism to look at the raw economic and strategic reality of the Arctic. We are going to explain why the United States is being forced to execute a hostile takeover of Greenland and how this single transaction will decide who owns the 21st century. To understand the future, we have to look at the greatest war in human history. In 1867, Secretary of State William Seward bought Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. The critics of the time called it a frozen wasteland and Seward's icebox. Today, Alaska produces over $50 billion in annual economic output and serves as the ultimate sentinel against Russian aggression. Greenland is Seward's folly to point zero, but unlike Alaska, which was a purchase of opportunity, Greenland is a purchase of necessity. Since 1868, the U.S. State Department has viewed Greenland as the white whale of foreign policy. In 1946, President Harry Truman offered $100 million in gold. He was rejected. In the 1950s, the U.S. built Thule Air Base, effectively turning the island into a military protectorate. But for 80 years, the arrangement worked because the ice was thick and the world was unipolar. In 2026, the ice is gone, and the world is breaking apart. The no from Copenhagen is no longer an acceptable answer for Washington. The Donroe Doctrine has been updated for the Arctic era. The United States can no longer tolerate a passive, underfunded European landlord managing the gatekeeper of the Atlantic. Let's talk about the price tag. Why $1.1 trillion? Wall Street analysts and geological surveyors have recently completed a total asset valuation of Greenland, and the numbers are staggering. We aren't just buying ice, we are buying the vitamins of the modern industrial age. Greenland holds the world's largest undeveloped deposits of rare earth elements. We're talking about neodymium, praseodymium, and dysprosium. Without these, you cannot build a Tomahawk missile. You cannot build an F-35 fighter jet. You cannot build the high-end AI chips that power the 2026 global economy. Currently, China controls 85% to 90% of the global processing of these minerals. They have a chokehold on the American defense supply chain. If Beijing cuts exports today, the U.S. military-industrial complex grinds to a halt in 6 months. Greenland's Kvanefjeld mine alone is estimated to hold over 100 million tons of ore. It could satisfy global demand for these tech minerals for the next 50 years. When you add the estimated 17 billion barrels of oil and 148 trillion cubic feet of natural gas sitting off the coast unlocked by the receding ice, the purchase of Greenland isn't an expense. It is a massive hedge against the collapse of the US dollar. By backing the greenback with the physical commodities of the Arctic, the U.S. secures its hegemony for the next century. The urgency in 2026 isn't just about what America wants, it's about what America cannot allow. Enter the Polar Silk Road. Beijing has officially declared itself a near-Arctic state. Since 2017, China has been playing a sophisticated game of debt-trap diplomacy in the north. In 2018, they attempted to buy an abandoned naval base. In 2020, they tried to finance 3 massive international airports in Narsarsuaq and Nuuk. Look at the logistics. As the polar ice cap recedes, the Northwest Passage is becoming the new Suez Canal. It cuts shipping distance between Shanghai and Hamburg by nearly 40%. It bypasses the pirate-infested waters of the Malacca Strait and the geopolitical choke points of the Middle East. The Pentagon's nightmare is simple. A Chinese-funded airport in Greenland is a Chinese aircraft carrier in North America's backyard. The U.S. has realized that Denmark, a small welfare state with a shrinking military budget, simply does not have the financial muscle or the strategic will to keep China out. In the eyes of Washington, Denmark is a negligent owner, and in the world of hard power, negligent owners lose their assets to those who can defend them. How do you take a country from a NATO ally in 2026 without firing a shot? You use financial engineering. Greenland is an autonomous territory, but it has an Achilles heel, the block grant. Every year, Denmark sends $600 million to Greenland to cover 50% of its public budget. Without this Danish cash, the hospitals close, the schools shut down, and the government collapses. The U.S. strategy, formulated in recent congressional hearings, is to outbid the landlord. The State Department is currently engaging directly with the local government in Nuuk. The message: Denmark treats you as a charity case. We will treat you as a business partner. If the U.S. offers a compact of free association, the same model used for Palau and the Marshall Islands, the people of Greenland get U.S. passports, massive infrastructure investment, and $2 billion in annual aid. For a population of only 57,000 people, this influx of American capital would turn every citizen into a millionaire overnight. Simultaneously, Washington is putting a security squeeze on Copenhagen. The U.S. is demanding that Denmark militarize the Arctic to NATO standards. But Denmark can't afford a billion-dollar naval buildup. The U.S. is making the assets so expensive to hold that the Danish taxpayer will eventually demand their government sell the liability. We are now entering the dark timeline. The rhetoric coming out of Washington has shifted. It is no longer about a business transaction. It is being phrased as a national security necessity. In 2026, the legal argument is being drafted. If a territory is essential to the defense of the North American continent, and the current sovereign cannot protect it from economic aggression by China, the U.S. has a moral and legal obligation to intervene. We saw this in World War II. When the Nazis occupied Denmark, the U.S. immediately occupied Greenland to protect the Atlantic. Today, the occupation is economic and diplomatic. The Office of Management and Budget has already been tasked with calculating absorption costs. They are looking at transitioning the Greenlandic krona to the U.S. dollar and integrating their social security into the federal system. This is not a drill. This is bureaucratic preparation for annexation. For the American voter, this resonates. For a country that feels it has been losing influence in the Middle East and manufacturing to Asia, the acquisition of Greenland represents a return to manifest destiny. It is a tangible win. It changes the map. We are at the final threshold. The ice is thinning, and the window of opportunity is closing. If the United States waits another decade, Greenland might be so economically entangled with Chinese debt and Russian little influence that unwinding it would require a kinetic world war. If they act now, it is merely a diplomatic crisis with Europe, a crisis Washington is more than willing to manage. The joke of buying Greenland is the most serious geopolitical maneuver of our time. It is the convergence of climate change, resource scarcity, and the brutal reality of great power competition. In the world of 2026, Greenland is the fortress of the North. Donald Trump and the strategists following his lead operate on a transactional logic. Nations are assets or liabilities. To them, Greenland is a distressed asset with massive upside potential, currently managed by a negligent owner. The hostile takeover is already in motion. The lawyers are drafting the papers, the geologists are surveying the mines, and the generals are updating the maps. We are witnessing the expansion of the American border in real time. The question is no longer if it will happen, but how the world will react when it does.